Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellower Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. So I've just run another Freedom of Spirit workshop, and one of the topics that came up is probably one that you're familiar with, which is this idea of we want to feel free, we want freedom, and yet do we really want to do the work that's required for that to take place? And we were discussing this, and we realized that most of us actually have programming within us that tells us that freedom is something that we can actually be given by somebody else, or that can be taken away from us by someone else. And that therefore, if we don't feel free, it's someone else's fault. And someone else has to fix things or improve things or change things in some way before we can feel free and before we can actually take responsibility and do anything about it ourselves. So it's almost like we're saying, yes, I know I'm responsible for my life and for my experience and for my sense of freedom, but I'm actually prevented at the moment, for the time being, from acting on that responsibility that I know I have. So in other words, it's a sort of having your cake and eat it thing, which is, yes, I'm a responsible person, I'm an evolved person, I'm taking responsibility, I recognize my responsibility, but actually I'm prevented from exercising that responsibility at the moment because of someone else, or circumstances outside my control, or because it's raining, or because somebody was horrible to me and therefore my faculties are now diminished, or whatever it might be. And we discussed that and realized that that's a very, very clever trick of the mind. Because the mind, and which is very akin to the notion of the ego, the priority there is to keep us safe, is to keep us surviving, is to keep us upright and alive and able to function and able to get away from danger and all that kind of thing. So what that means is, really, the safest way to be is to not change, not take any risks, not push out the side of the envelope, not be that creative, not be that expansive. Because, of course, if we're really creative, we run the risk of other people don't like what we've created, we're disappointed with it, it doesn't work. Whereas if we're just, living a mundane life, pottering along, and by the way, what is a mundane life? A mundane life is the life that is no longer particularly interesting and that has no challenges in it. So for you, the mundane life could be being the chief exec of a global corporation where the nature of the job you're doing is just really easy for you now. It's straightforward, pretty much, because you know how to do it. You've got all the right people in place to do everything that needs to be done. And really, it's not that challenging. So for you, that's mundane. Whereas for someone else, the mundane life might be chopping down trees in Hawaii and looking after a nature reserve, something like that. I met someone once where that's what they did for years and years. They lived in this beautiful forested land in Hawaii, and they looked after the land and they looked after the animals and so forth. And sometimes they had to chop down trees and thin things out. And for them, that had become mundane. Whereas for me, and perhaps for you, that would be quite an extraordinary adventure, or in my case, quite terrifying, because I would be worried about not doing it properly because I wouldn't know what I was doing. So this whole question of, do we really want freedom? Do we really want to actually live our lives to the full? And do we actually realize that we're the only ones who can do that? Do we actually realize that all of these ideas in the mind which say, yes, I could do that if only this wasn't happening, or if only this person wasn't doing what they're doing, or if only it wasn't so cold outside, or if only it wasn't so hot. Whatever reason we can come up with. Which, by the way, the ability to come up with all of these reasons is a manifestation of intelligence. It's a manifestation of imagination and creativity. So it actually takes intelligence and imagination and creativity to have a well-formed, resilient set of resistances going on with us. So that's a good thing. But the question then is, are we going to then believe in that and follow that and let that be our guide? Or is our guide going to be that free spirit within that annoyingly irritates us and wakes us up in the night and says, I think there might be more. I think it might be possible to feel much more vibrant in my life. I think it might be possible to feel much more in alignment with who I am, to feel more energy coursing through me, to be more in touch with the multiple layers of colour and miracle and beauty in the world around me. Or would I rather keep it mundane? So these are conversations which I would not be surprised to learn that you have had with yourself before, or with other people if you're a practitioner or a leader or a parent. I imagine you've had these conversations with people before, where the whole question is, well, okay, if that's what you really want, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Or are you going to believe in all of the excuses and all of the difficulties which explain beautifully and reasonably why you can't do anything about it right now, or there's nothing that you can do? So I will just say, if you are somebody who right now does feel extremely helpless, weak, low energy, debilitated, perhaps unwell, all of those experiences, then perhaps I'm not speaking to you at the moment. Perhaps you're in a place where the priority is recovery, gentleness. But even if that's the case, even if your priority right now is recovery, gentleness, rest, and all of those things, maybe it's great to keep in mind the possibility that on the other side of that, there may be an adventure waiting for you when you're more in the space for it, when you're ready for it. And maybe that's a possibility for you. And maybe you investing in your recovery and your health and your wellness diligently and with self-love and with intention, maybe that's the most creative thing that you could possibly be doing right now. In which case, that's your current adventure. And in which case, I wish you all the best with that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you've been watching this on a video channel, please put a comment below, because it's fantastic when people put comments and other people can respond. I will always respond to your comments. Have a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.